maybe 14, 15 years old, I'd already decided that what I was gonna do with my life had nothing to do with school. At that point, I was like, I'm gonna be successful, but I'm gonna be an entertainer. Now, comedy was way off the grid. I wasn't thinking about being no comedian, show business. And I think for many years, I was more focused on my show because, and we touched on the whole people, making videos and becoming comedians. They call themselves comedians or whatever. My job, my focus, as a stand-up comic is developing an act. As a stand-up comic, you should want to develop an act that you can carry everywhere. Well, first of all, I got crack cocaine, I got baggies, so that's 2 felonies. That's
just a baggie is a crime?
No, if you have baggies along with cocaine, it's possession with intent to sell. Yeah. So that's 2 felonies. Also, I had marijuana and I had a pistol. So I'm just like, and having a pistol with drugs is a separate felony. That's why I say we're the low end on the totem pole, because people can see you and he's like, man, he did the same shit he did last year, It's like, hey, well, Frankie Beverly did the same shit he did for 35 years, Like, why do you put that much emphasis on me doing the same shit where your favorite artists, you get mad when they don't sing those same records?
I believe comedians are some of the sharpest entrepreneurs out there. And in today's video, you're gonna hear from comedian Bodacious how he is able to be one of the best comedians in the country, as well as being an entrepreneur and keeping it all running at the same time. Because when he hits the stage, he's gotta light the room up every time. Class, I would love for you to meet comedian Bodacious. How you doing, bro?
Good, brother. How you doing?
It's good to see you.
Yes, sir. Likewise, man.
It's taken me months to get you in here, but thank you for coming, bro.
It ain't been that long, has it?
Yeah, man.
I don't be doing shit throughout the week, man, so it's hard to get me out.
You gotta recharge.
I love my home.
I don't understand why everybody's living their best life away from home.
All these motherfuckers say, we outside. I'm like, I'm at the crib.
Live your best life when you get home. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I am inside.
All right, let's get into it.
Because, on the surface, people look and be like, he's only got like 58,000 followers. He can't be that big, can't be that great. Because that's, people associate, greatness with followers.
Numbers.
So, and I never understood that. And just the whole concept of that still pisses me off, but it is what it is, Either you're gonna be happy, either you're gonna be happy or sad about it,
But Bo, how old are you?
I'll be 50 next month.
All right, I'm 49. Bo, this shit changes, dog. I
mean,
nothing stays.
But I was hoping it would change back. You know what I mean?
Come on, girl.
It never changed back. I'm just like 10 years ago, it shifted to this whole, people doing this and putting clips online and getting millions of followers. And next thing you know, they headlining comedy clubs. I was like, just that whole idea of that just totally pissed me off, because here I am in the trenches trying to make myself into somebody who headlines these clubs, and you did that off making a fucking video, and now you arrive and you stink. So now people look at my art form as something that stinks because they bought into that shit.
You serious about this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm absolutely serious about that. I mean, I'm not bitter about it no more, but that's basically what it is.
But Bo, help me understand, are you romantic about how you came up? It sounds like you're romanticizing about what I did was this and this.
No, it's because that's the standard. Far as what I do for a living, stand-up comedy, there's no skipping the process. You can't just throw a bag of some shit in the microwave and boom, you're a stand-up comic. You got to put the work in.
You just told me that people are online doing stuff.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing, but they're doing it the wrong way, and that's why they're not being successful. When they come back around to that comedy
longevity.
Club, oh, absolutely.
Okay, wow, that's different.
This is something you build over time. If you want to just jump in and make some bread, fine, but you're not gonna. It's not sustainable.
Shit, let me cut that. Sorry, that's crazy. Well, Bo, when I hear your comedy is It's unique.
It took many years to put that product on the stage. And that ain't something, you don't become that overnight. There's no way in hell. I've never seen anybody do what I do after being in the game a couple years. That's just not how it works. This is a crock pot thing. You know, this is something you got to work at, man. This is very difficult art form that I indulge myself in.
I want to talk about the day you said, like, when I was in college, I had to make a decision. I'm either going to do music or something else. I had to pick something.
Yeah.
You picked comedy. I want to know what the heck was in your head at that time, and how old were you?
I was 19. Are we recording yet?
We there.
Okay.
I'm going to come back and do the intro.
All right.
Since I don't even know what we're going to be going.
Yeah, I was 19, man, and I was entrenched in the drug game, and I was 10 toes deep in it, and
Where?
I was loving it.
Where?
In Norfolk.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah. Oh man, Norfolk's still rough, but I remember waking up. I distinctively remember back in '91 waking up, and that's back when people read the newspaper. But I remember seeing the headline on the Virginia Pilot, which was the major newspaper in this area. They called Norfolk Killville because that's how many murders we had that year.
Wow.
Look it up. It was a headline. And I just remember seeing that. It's like one of those headlines I'll never forget. That's how bad Norfolk was back when I was into that game. So
Killville.
They called Norfolk Killville.
That's sad.
Yeah, especially because I'm from Norfolk. I didn't want that title. I wasn't excited about that. And I was 16, 17 years old. So maybe I was supposed to be feeling great about that, but I was like, wow, like it was bleak for me.
Is that when you said you got to do something else, or where?
Nah, I was still.
Like, I'm gonna make it.
Oh yeah, I was just like, man, I still got to get this bread. I'm just gonna not be part of Killville.
Why did you not have any options, Bo? Could you rewind a little bit?
Well, all right. I mean, I was an honor roll student most of my life. I mean, A's and B. I didn't get my first C until I was in the 8th grade. I never even seen a C on my report card before. But that's 8th grade is the time when I started, first of all, the drug game has always been around me because I've always lived in that environment.
In the 80s.
80s, 90s, yeah. And, my family was into it, and not on the side that I was on. They was into, the consumption of drugs. So it was always around me, it just so happened one day I decided that, I wasn't, I think I asked my mother for like a triple fat goose for Christmas and some pair of suede felines or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get either one, because she couldn't afford it because she was spending money on other things. So I decided, I'm going to get it. And, I went out there on the block and I got it.
How old were you then?
I was 15 going on 16.
Damn, Bo.
Yeah. I was this big 15-year-old kid. I remember the day that I got caught with some drugs, and they took me down to the
Norfolk.
It was the state. It wasn't downtown. It was a station on Virginia Beach Boulevard, the Norfolk the Police Operations Center on Virginia, near Military Circle. Mm-hmm. They took me down there, and I just remember all the police in there was like, "Where the hell is this big 15-year-old?" Because everybody couldn't believe I was 15. Because I was like this size already, and I had like hair on my face. So, yeah, I just remember, and that wasn't a turning point. At that point, because I was a juvenile. I was a juvenile, and it gave me some cred at the end of the day. It's like already, I got caught out there. I didn't snitch and all of that. Which was still values that people place. but it's still values people practice today, which is dumb as hell. But I was 16, man, 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I went to juvie.
Okay.
And that was my first charge, so of course I didn't go to jail. My mother came and bailed me out, and I caught hell from her because now she's looking at something that she may have something to do with.
Were you the only child? You got brothers and sisters?
No, my sister was probably 3 or 4 years old at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got a baby sister.
So you went to, I guess you're in school. Roll it out for us. I'm curious. How does it unfold?
I mean, after that, I think I may have went, even harder. And by that time, I was 16. I started to just not go to school no more because school wasn't a priority for me.
Wow.
Getting that money was. So, at that point, I didn't want, if anything, I didn't want to disappoint my grandmother because she was, at that time, probably the only person that loved me unconditionally that I thought, and when you feel that unconditional love, man, those are the people that you don't want to let down. So, at that point, I didn't want to come out and say, hey, I'm a drug dealer. And, even though I think they may have had hints about it, I never wanted to tell everybody I dropped out of school because I was going to be a lawyer, man. I was an A student. And
wow.
But, maybe 14, 15 years old, I'd already decided that what I was going to do in my life had nothing to do with school. At that point, I was like, I'm going to be successful, but I'm going to be an entertainer. Now, comedy was way off the grid. I wasn't thinking about being no comedian, but I was, I got some pipes, man, so I was going to be a singer. I was going to be a rapper.
Sing too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to be a singer or a rapper. I think I was gravitating more towards rapping, but I could sing, man. But I think, singing, I didn't feel comfortable doing it in front of people. So, but rapping, of course, we beat on the lunch table and made little raps and all that. Mm-hmm. But I stayed in that game for a couple more years and then ended up getting caught as an adult, which that wasn't fun because now I'm on my own.
Tell me about it. If you want to, I don't.
It ain't a traumatic thing, and I'm proud of that actually because it propelled me into what I am. So one day I'm riding around, and of course back then I didn't care. I'm riding around with a suspended license, and my motto was shit. You don't need a license till they pull you over, which is true, but it's an ignorant way of looking at shit. But yeah, I'm riding around with my homeboy, and he wasn't into the game, so he was paranoid. So I got a bunch of dope on me, no suspended license. I didn't give a damn, music blasting.
You were the perfect person for riding dirty.
Yeah, I was ignorant as hell, man. Well, maybe not ignorant. I was just fearless. I say that. And he's looking back. The police are behind me. He keep looking back. I'm like, stop looking back. You're gonna make him pull me over. So they ended up pulling me over. And as I'm pulling over, I'm kind of like reaching to my jacket. And I'm like, hey man, stash this, gun, drugs, sick. Everything. And I thought I handed him everything. So anyway, the police come up to the car and he's like, get out the car. Once he found out I didn't have a license, routine things. Done. And I get out the car and the crack falls off of my lap, onto the ground. I didn't hand him everything. So, I look down at the crack, he looks down at the crack, and then I look up at him and then boom, he just throws me on the car. Next thing you know, it's police everywhere. All these cars coming down. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to jail. I'm 19, and this is right when Virginia changes its laws. It's February of 95. So they changed their laws. It was no more. Remember back in the day, you get 5 years in prison, you do 18 months, and there's no more of that. So I can't remember who the governor was at that point, but they implemented this 85%. Whatever you do, whatever time you get is 85% you have to serve, which is dramatic difference. So that's all I'm thinking, like, man, whatever I get, So, he put me in the back of the car, and so I'm just adding up the charges. I'm like,
where's your friend?
Well, he's out of the car too, but I'm just playing these scenarios out in the back of the car, handcuffed in the back of a police car. I'm like, man, I got a gun. Well, first of all, I got crack cocaine, I got baggies, so that's 2 felonies. That's
just a baggie is a crime?
No, if you have baggies along with cocaine, it's possession with intent to sell. Yeah. So that's 2 felonies. Also, I had marijuana, and I had a pistol. So I'm just like, and having a pistol with drugs is a separate felony. So I'm like 3 felonies. I was like, I'm toast. Like, I'm thinking 20 years maybe.
Legal gun?
No, hell no. I was selling crack. Of course it wasn't legal. So,
I don't know.
you know, the policeman comes back to the car and I'm just like, hey man, you know, I'm like, what am I being charged with? And, you know, he says, well, I could charge you with possession with possession with intent, but I'm just going to charge you with possession. So my first thing is I was about to say, well, what about the gun? So that's the first thing I'm thinking. So I'm like, okay. I'm just sitting there like, how in the hell? So they send the dude that I'm with back to the car because he has a license. He's going to take my car. You know, and I'm just like, where the hell is the gun, you know? And he's like, man, they didn't find it.
Who, your friend? Wow.
When I tell you I'm in the back of that car and I saw a policeman, it's a 4-door car. 4-door was a 98. Back then we drove shit like that, Oldsmobile 98. So it was a 4-door car. There's a policeman on each door. And there's 2 in my trunk tearing up my speaker boxes trying to find it. 6 cops tearing my car up. The one cop on the side where that gun was a brother. And it was a shiny 38. Remember that 38 Tupac had on Juice? Mm-hmm. The same exact one. 38 Special. I know he saw that gun.
Wow.
If not, God blinded him. It's no way.
Could be.
So I said, man, he said, well, the gun's still in the car. He said, well, I'm going to drive your car to your grandmother's house and drop it off, whatever. So I go to jail on a simple possession charge. So I'm just like, fuck, I got hope, you know?
Did you recognize that?
Not at the time. But let me tell you what happened not even 2 weeks later. So I get bonded out and all that, and now I'm charged as an adult. I have a court date. And still everybody's like, well, you just got a possession charge. You can tell them you get high. You know how that goes.
Feel good, yeah.
So,
don't feel good though.
So I get pulled over with the same dude in my car, taking his girlfriend home. You know, I still have no license. I'm just hard-headed, man. And I get pulled over, dropping her off. The gun is in the car again. So when I get pulled over, I hand him the gun.
For it.
Yes, I hand him the gun again. I was like, so as we're turning the corner so I can pull over so I can get off the main street, he took the gun and slung it out the window. So the policeman comes to the car and he's like, you know, license, registration. I was like, look, man, I'm gonna be straight with you. I don't have no license. I'm suspended. I'm out on bail. I was like, I'm dead wrong. Damn. But I'm trying to take this man's wife home, his girlfriend home, so she ain't had to catch the buses late at night. He was like, well, I appreciate your honesty. So I'm gonna go back here and write you a ticket. You have to park the car. And I'm just like, hey man, fine, you know? So while he's writing the ticket, I'm like, where's the gun at? Like I'm talking to him. And he's like, I can see it. So I look over the dashboard and every time the blue light spins around, I can see it shining off of that 38. And it's probably 15, 20 feet away. I'm like, man, if he comes back to my car or if he comes to your side, he's gonna see that pistol. And lo and behold, he didn't. Now that is what opened my eyes. Cause I sent him over there, he ran over there and got the gun. And when the policeman left, I still drove the car. I was supposed to leave it. I drove the car straight home.
With another ticket.
So that right there, I was like, man, I gotta do something different. Cause I'm not gonna get no more chances.
No, you ain't getting no more chances.
I was like, that's 2 chances in 2 weeks.
Did you feel like you needed to carry a gun, Bo? Were you
of course, man. It was Killville. Of course. I'm in Norfolk. It's Killville. I'm just like, I definitely need a gun. Because
paint the climate for us so we understand, people that don't know anything about Norfolk.
Man, Norfolk was rough. I mean, it was a lot of New Yorkers came down to Norfolk.
Coming down interstate.
Yeah. Came down to Norfolk and made a lot of money because they could make more product off of their product.
Give us the thought of the New Yorker that people don't have any idea.
Let me go down here and run these farmers off their corners. You know, that's the way they looked at it. But
city guys.
Unfortunately, we sent a lot of them home in pine boxes because they thought we were just slow and country and they can come down here and take everything over. And that's not the way it worked. So
wow.
it didn't end well for a lot of them. So it was a lot of warring going on between a lot of New Yorkers and, you know, people from other spots coming down to the country, you know, thinking just because New Yorkers, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's not true. A lot of them,
They're fast.
I'm not gonna say they're smarter, but
just faster.
everything's faster there.
faster.
We're laid back down here. We don't have to catch the subway and the
Nope,
train,
it's faster.
look over our back and walk 100 miles an hour everywhere. It's much faster there. So with that being said, they probably thought we were slower, but you know, we were mindful about getting them up out of here because we wasn't going to allow them to take our corners and shit over. So yeah, I did feel the need to carry a pistol. And there was a lot of stick-up boys, you know. There was a lot of guys that didn't want to sell drugs. They would just go stick up the guys that sold drugs. So
Good, great.
yeah.
That's
And you
fair.
always got to worry about your own people, man. Always.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely had a need to carry a pistol.
I want to get. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't want to. I want to make sure I keep you in this story. Then we're gonna get into the now stuff. But so you got the DAS ticket. That's when you realize I got to do something else. Let's fast forward to how do we.
At the time, my leisure was going to the comedy club. You know, me and my homeboy, everybody has their things they do to help them relax or get away from all the chaos of the corner. So on Thursdays, me and my homeboy Slim would go to the comedy club. That's how we got away from everything. And we was the only one, because, you know, comedy ain't everybody's thing, man. You know, even people in my family, you know, haven't seen me no more than 2 or 3 times, and I've been doing this shit 30 years. It's just a lot of people just not into stand-up comedy, and I get it. Me, I've always loved it. You know, I love to laugh. Even the hardest of people love to laugh, you know? So that's what we did. And we used to go to the comedy club, man. It was standing room only. This was back when Def Jam was at its apex. And man, when I tell you ladies' night at the comedy club, it was standing room only. And I was like, man, I went there every Thursday, you know? And that's where I ran into my man Herman Hurston, because he was the host of that show back then. And, you know, got to know him and finally, you know, I think maybe a couple of months before I was due to go to court, I was like, I got to try it at least.
Why?
You know? Man, because I knew I could
People
do it.
don't wake up and say, you know what?
No, I knew
comedy.
after watching so many comedians take L's.
What is that? What do you mean?
A loss on stage. I've seen a lot of guys bomb that were on Comic View and all that.
I don't understand. When you
I've
say
seen
bomb,
them stink.
They come on.
Yes. I've
Oh.
seen them. It's different seeing somebody on TV, man, and then going to see them live. It's not always the same result. You see somebody on stage for 6 minutes on Comic View, they can be spectacular. But coming to headline a show and do
A set.
45 minutes,
A
it is
set.
different. So it can go either way.
Requires more work.
And with this business, man, it can always go either way. You can say something that's going to piss somebody off, or maybe address us as the wrong name, call us Richmond instead of Norfolk. I mean, anything can happen, man. So I watched a lot of guys take a loss on stage, and I was like, you know, I can do that. Because I was always, like I said, I have a background of singing and rapping, and, you know, on the corner, you know, we joked each other, man. You know, we used to sit out there and drink wine and snap on each other.
That's
And,
what we call it.
and I got good at it, you know, like, because I was the mixed kid in the neighborhood. So I took all them I'll Be Sure jokes and shit, and Christopher Williams and all that. I took all them jokes, man. So, you know, I sharpened my sword, and I just started going back at them dudes, and I got good at it. And I can do impressions. So, yeah, I could imitate people and all that. So, yeah, I had a background of being great at stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, I became the guy nobody wanted to joke no more because they knew they was going
You're gonna tell
to
them
get their ass lit up. So, yeah, so it was a no-brainer for me. I was like, I can do that.
So you decided to go on stage. Did you do a set? Did you rehearse? I mean, what was
Here's
it like?
what I did. This is back. I used to smoke cigarettes back then, and I put this little cheat sheet into my cigarette pack in between the plastic and the pack of cigarettes. I wrote down the
Good
topics.
stuff. This is good stuff.
I wrote down the topics I was going to talk about just in case I forgot.
1990s.
Yeah, this was 95. I was so petrified of going on stage and trying to be funny, even though I knew I could do it. It's still just the idea of that. I cowered a little bit. But I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to forget the things that I was going to talk about. So I've watched comedians go on stage and like put their pack of cigarettes down. It's back when you could smoke on stage, and like grab the mic, and every once in a while they turn around and, you know, take a cigarette out and light it. But I was gonna use my pack of cigarettes to see something
Notes.
that I maybe have forgot. So I go on stage and man, I'm frightened. When I tell you I forgot everything. I forgot everything. I even forgot to pick up the pack of cigarettes because I was frozen, man.
How many people in the audience?
It was a packed house, super packed. But while I was on stage, I still ended up like messing with a couple people and getting laughs behind that. And I think I imitated Luther Vandross and sang some Al Green. I made some animal noises, some old crazy shit, man. And I still did well. I did well enough that when I got off stage, I was like, shh. I even forgot what I was gonna say, and I still killed. I was like, this is destiny now. Like I'm gonna do this forever.
So that was the time.
That was it.
People love you. Is this on Virginia Beach Boulevard?
No, this was this was the Howard Johnson Hotel.
They tore that down.
Yeah. Well, no, it's it's renamed now. It's a different
okay. I
name.
thought it
But it's been 3 or 4 different things since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going way back.
Yes, sir. Comedy Spotlight Theater.
That's Buddha Brothers back.
Man, this before. Well, I ain't gonna say it's before then, but it was right. It was right there when they started.
Good for you, Bo.
Yeah.
So the rest history, or
The
is there
rest is
something?
the rest is history, man. When I went back to court to get sentenced, I think that helped me too, because you know my lawyer was like, you know, Your Honor, he's changed his life around. You know, he doesn't get high no more. He's doing stand-up comedy and he's being compensated for his performances. I just remember distinctively that being said. He's even being compensated for his performances. And I just remember the judge saying, you know, I'm delighted to hear that. And the next time I see you, it better be on TV. And
Oh, wow.
he sentenced me to, I think he said 10 years in the state penitentiary. And he paused and I was like, and he said suspended in probation or whatever. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
and I just remember how tense of a moment that was. And I was like, well, you ain't got to worry about seeing me no more. And that's when I really just embarked on my journey. I was like, I got to figure out how to make this work.
Was school for you, or you're not a school?
I was
type
done
guy?
with school at that point. Yeah, I dropped out when I was 17, man.
Okay.
Maybe before then. Maybe it was 16, because I met this little cutie in the Navy and lied to her about my age. And
I got me a Navy girl,
man, look, I was like, I'm gonna get
military
through.
girl.
I was still, I didn't stop selling drugs at that point. I just kind of scaled back a little bit. I had saved up a lot of money. Of course, that money was gone, and I had to get a job and all that. But yeah, I got a job doing construction, and I kept the job for 10 years while I figured out what I was going to do.
Tell me about that lifestyle, working and doing comedy. It's
Man,
got to be hard.
It's horrible, because it's like every day you wake up, you know, first of all, I'm still torn in between. I was making this much bread on the streets, and now I'm making $5.50 an hour. Like, it's hard. It's hard to maneuver through that. I mean, and I'm saying hard loosely. It was damn near impossible.
You're trying to figure out what your value is in your mind. no
I'm
doubt.
making like $200 a week, you know, doing construction, and just looking forward to doing open mics every Wednesday and Thursday. I lived like that for a very long time. And, you know, it's a hard life, man. When people ask me, you know, or, you know, inquire about doing it, I'm just like, you really need to think it through, man, because
That's why we're talking about it. I want people to know.
yeah, especially people that have great jobs. See, I didn't. So, you know, when I used to get a gig somewhere and I had to drive in the middle of the week, you know, I would go to my supervisor and be like, hey, man, you know, I got a show. He'd be like, man, you know, I said, man, don't make me choose, because it won't be this shit. Mm-hmm. They knew how passionate I was. And I think what really helped me is I had a young supervisor at that point. And he came to one of my open mics with a couple people I worked with that worked in the office, you know, because I was driving truck. And they came to one of my shows and saw me. And I just remember after the show, he was like, He's like,
gonna
man,
look
you
out for
do
you.
this. He was like,
look out
this
for you.
right here. He's like, you good at this.
Bo,
So
it's
that's
sad.
what saved me from not getting fired.
But even that person, Bo, I feel like, dude, you have had some angels looking out over you.
Oh,
even,
yeah.
Even to
Yeah.
bless his heart. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah. And that's why I don't, look, man, a lot of people look at this, this journey of, getting to be a celebrity and a superstar and this, and whether you're doing comedy or singing or whatever, man, the journey is the best part of it. It's the hardest part, but it's the most rewarding. It's like if I wake up tomorrow and I become this millionaire that set my mind on being, I think that when I look back at where I'm at now and where I've,
The journey is the
yes,
goal.
I'm gonna be like, man, that was
journey is the goal.
It absolutely,
Journey is the
absolutely.
goal.
Being in them trenches, man,
But we don't
nothing
like it.
replace that.
We don't like it.
No,
don't
we hate
like-
it.
We don't like being in the moment.
You know why? And I always compare it to the caterpillar and the butterfly thing. You think the caterpillar wants to be in complete darkness for 6
Locked
months and can't move? But once that cocoon opened up and he fly away, I'm pretty sure he looks back and was like, I wouldn't trade that.
For the world.
I wouldn't trade that darkness for nothing.
But Bo, it's easier said than done, obviously, and where you are now in your life. I think for me it's a blur because I was so focused on the grindstone. Were you the same? Trying to say, I need to be here. How do you live being a comedian? You have to live in the present.
Yeah.
And you have to think, where do I want my life to go? But you have to produce now. How do you delineate and compartmentalize where you want to go to where you are?
Man, maybe I'm too much of an optimist, but the better my relationship got with God, I just knew that it was going to work out. I was like, I have to go through these struggles that I'm going through. And trust me, it was a whole lot, man. I was on my job 10 years.
Tell us somebody about the bell times. I'd love to hear them.
I was, first of all, stand-up is a very, very hard thing to do. I think we're on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to entertainment.
Why do you make you say that?
Because it's, for people that know, they put us a lot higher than the rest of the genres of entertainment.
You got comedians doing big movies now, Bo. I'm not following
Yeah.
that.
No, I'm saying, all right, let's just say, for instance, I'm on a show with a DJ and a radio personality, big radio personality, and, a singer, famous singer, and I'm the comedian. After the show, they're going to be much more regarded than me. Because we put, people look at comedians generally as just clowns. Somebody's just funny. They don't look at it as an art form.
Really?
They do.
I don't know this. This is new to
In
me.
general.
Okay.
Yeah,
Generally
it's like,
speaking.
because, people ask me, I'm like, man, you all right? I'm like, man, I'm tired of shit. It's like, I ain't just telling jokes. I'm never more offended by anything than hearing that.
Oh, all
You just
do-
telling jokes. Bro, do you know for somebody who's a introvert, such as myself, somebody who doesn't particularly care for other human beings, and I don't mean that, I mean, I just I like being by myself. I'm a loner.
I got you.
And I can only do a little bit of people every week, and that's shows. For someone who's built that way, for me to go on stage and
Light it up.
it takes a lot, man. Like when I come home after doing 6, 7 shows a weekend, sometimes more,
Wow.
I am exhausted.
Wow.
Monday when I get off that plane and I take that ride home from the airport, man, when I get in that house, man, I don't want to be bothered for 3, 4 days. Like I don't want to be bothered with nothing because it takes that much time for me to recharge. And by the time I get back to being myself, now it's time to pack and do it all over again. Now, would I trade that? No, I wouldn't, because it's an amazing feeling to do what I do, man, and it's bigger than me.
Well, we love you here. We love you, dog. I love the show.
Comedians are prophets, man. People don't know that.
Stay where you were.
Yeah.
Where you were regarding the comedians being at the bottom. I mean, I don't. Because when I see you, Bo, I see preparation. I see delivery. I see timing. I see enunciation. I see vocabulary. All that stuff is what
You
I see.
stand alone with that. Yeah, you know, because
see it.
maybe you're just a fan of stand-up comedy, and I need more people. I need to be in front of more people like that appreciate this skill.
So you're telling me people don't see that?
No,
You know what Gary Vee said?
a lot of people don't.
The most important thing in your life is your perception. The way we perceive things. And when I see you, I'm like, this. I can see it. Am I correct when I say that? I don't even know. I'm
No.
not a comedian.
No,
You
you
have to
are.
practice all that?
I mean, after doing it for so long, man, it becomes a
I know it's second nature.
it's second nature. It's a muscle.
It's a muscle. Okay, but I'm just talking about for our viewers. They have no idea all the stuff you have to do. That's why I'm trying to pull it out of you.
There's a lot that goes into it because,
Give us some of the things.
well,
Your vocabulary
you wanna,
is immense. I can hear it in the way you pronounce your words. There is no stuttering.
Well, that took time. You know, that's a skill because it's public speaking, man. Some people are definitely afraid of that. And to do that and be humorous about it, I think is 3 times is more difficult. But it's a muscle memory thing. It's like the more you say things over and over again, because, you know, when I first started doing this, man, I would go buy a notebook and it's like, I got to write today. Everybody's preparation and their skill set is different in developing jokes. I can't write like that. I'm a great writer, but far as taking my humorous thoughts and writing them down and trying to build something off of it, it doesn't work for me. I would end up writing maybe 2 pages and then I'll throw that notebook down and I'll end up going to buy another notebook and start all over again. It's like that process doesn't work for me.
Just tell us about your process.
For me, it's saying something humorous or thinking something humorous, something that makes me laugh, or, you know, in conversation with someone and I say something and everybody's dying laughing. I'm like, and I'll take that thought, type it in my phone, and trust me, you know, 30 years of doing this, man, I think I've touched on every subject you can probably, you know, touch on, you know, outside of things that I don't find funny. Like I don't rock with other comics that, you know, make rape jokes and you know, messing with little kids and shit like that.
I don't hear you
dark
going
humor. I can't.
I don't hear you going political either. Do you?
It's more of my disgust with politics, not just, you know, yeah, Mitch McConnell today said, yeah, I'm not going to have that type of, no, because I hate politics. I ain't gonna say I hate, that's a strong word, but I just despise politics. It's just more or less of my disgust with politicians and just, I don't like people playing in my face. So
your process is you hear something and then you start to orbit around that.
that's
particular.
exactly what I do. I'll take something and if I've already been discussing that topic, it just gets inserted. If not, if it's a different subject, I'll write it down and now I start building around it so that I can control that bit. You know, and if I didn't do it that way, it would probably be that the bit would be controlling me.
Damn.
And I have to have total control of my process.
Wow.
Yeah,
The process is what gives you your value, I would think.
absolutely. Because man, look, this is like having a CDL, man, this skill set that I got. Like
Where do you learn it, Bo? There is no school.
I'm not
New comedians coming out.
I'm not an athlete. Like I'm not gonna, you know, blow my Achilles out and be done. Like the older I get, the more I do this shit, man, the greater I'm gonna be. Like I'm gonna still be 65 talking shit. Lo and behold, you know, something happens. If they can roll me out there in the wheelchair, long as I got my pipes, I can talk that shit with anybody, man.
Are you a landlord struggling to collect your rent on time each and every month? Or perhaps you're looking to get a new tenant in your property and when you want to make sure you got the right person going in there so they don't destroy your property and your financing. If these are some of the problems you're facing, why don't you join me and my friend Dan Barrero at the Ultimate Landlord Survival Training. This is going to be a 4-week training where we walk you step by step how we have survived this real estate business for over 50 years combined. We're going to show you how to pick that right tenant, how to manage the property, and further, sometimes we can do creative type of sales and get a large down payment and collect rent and pass the repair responsibility onto a tenant buyer. So there's a link in the video description if this is something that will enrich your life, and stop worrying about whether your tenant is going to be paying rent. I know how stressful it can be. You got a mortgage payment, you don't know if they're going to pay. So me and Dan want to alleviate that from you so you can get out there and enjoy your life and place the right people in your properties so you can move on to your next piece of real estate. Join the training in the video description below, and let's get back to our video. I want to go to the entrepreneur side, which is why you're really here, Bo. Your job is making us laugh. Your business is making us laugh. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of the business parts. Is it management? Do you have people around you? How do you put the business and the comedy? How does all that come together? Because I was in the music business for many years, and what I learned was, if the music business is this pie at 100%, music was 10%.
That's how it is with I think probably everything.
Oh, okay.
Because they, like you said, it's business, show business. And I think for many years, I was more focused on my show because, and we touched on the whole people, making videos and becoming comedians. They call themselves comedians or whatever. My job, my focus, as a stand-up comic is developing an act. As a stand-up comic, you should want to develop an act that you can carry everywhere. So that takes many years to form, having that skill set. It's like having a commercial driver's license. I can take that and make money the rest of my life off of it. It
yours is changing though, isn't it?
It has to. It has to change for me because I'll get tired of my own shit if I don't change it. That's why it goes back to the process of saying something humorous and putting it in my phone. And now that one line can change the dynamic of my whole act. Like it gets to the point where after repeating my act, going around this country constantly every year, and everybody not seeing me, or there's certain clubs I do every year. They're going to see me every year. They're going to come out to see me. They want to see a strong 10 or 15 minutes of new shit. The consumer does. And some people just are nostalgic. They're like, hey man, you didn't do the joke, you did last time. And it's sort of like,
mix it up.
Yeah. That's why I say we're the low end of the totem pole, because people can see you and it's like, man, he did the same shit he did last year, It's like, hey, well, Frankie Beverly did the same shit he did for 35 years, Like, why do you put that much emphasis on me doing the same shit where your favorite artists, that you get mad when they don't sing those same records? I never understood why we are like that.
Wow, I never thought about that.
No, man, that's exactly how it is. And I hate that it's like that. But people, it's a mixed bag. People want you to do new shit. And then there's some people that's like, I don't even care. I just want to hear that joke about the guy on the horse, And they get mad when you don't do that joke.
Frankie Beverly has been doing the same set.
And well, he's no longer with us, but I'm pretty sure he's doing the same shit now in heaven. And you know what? When he got to the point where he couldn't even sing his songs, we sung them for him. The same freaking songs.
You can
we sang them for him.
I don't care. Wow. Bo, you might be one of the few people that recognize that, because my wife wants to hear the same stuff.
Yes, I do too. When I go to a concert, I'm like, hey man,
nothing new.
You have to do the songs that I want to hear.
So how do you, okay, well let's go to comedians. And how do you, is it new, is it old, is it mixture?
You have to, I can go down a list of comedians that have been doing the same shit for a long, oh yeah, but people love them. And some people's like, I ain't going to see him. He's going to do the same shit he did.
Give us some names. Well, Lavelle, I see Lavelle. He got a lot of YouTube stuff.
Yeah, he does. And Lavelle has always been consistent with doing new stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, look, man, you go down a list of comedians.
I don't watch them all, but
he
has a lot.
But there's a mainstay in this business, and people that will do this until they're 75, 80 years old. You know, you got the Samoas and Earthquakes and Lavelles and DC Currys and DL and Mike Epps. And there's certain people that they are mainstays in this because they know what it takes to do it. You have to come back every year when you come back, and you got to have a fresh 10, 15 minutes.
It's gotta be.
Because it can take you that long. It can take you that long to come up with new material.
Do you have a team, Bo?
No, man.
You thought about getting a team?
I mean, I'm getting to that point where I need to start putting people in place because it's stressful doing everything myself.
I'm just talking about for the joke, because some people have writing teams.
Nah, man, I ain't there yet. And plus, I'm man. Look, I'm a beast with this shit.
You mentioned DL. You've been working for him with him for many years. How long?
Man, I met DL about 20 years ago and found out he was from here. He's from Portsmouth.
Get out of here! I didn't know that.
He was born in Portsmouth.
Two Portsmouth guys.
He won't tell a lot. No, I'm from Norfolk.
No, okay.
Yeah, but he won't tell a lot of people that. But he was born in Maryview Hospital. But he went to LA right afterwards. So
they
he's
call
an
that
LA
Murder
cat.
View.
Yeah. We both, have autistic sons. We both were street guys and we got a lot of shit in common, man.
Okay.
So we kind of hit it off. And I ran into him again in maybe, 2009 maybe. Mm-hmm. And, we had a conversation, deep conversation. And I ran into him again a year later. And
just in the network.
Yeah, just, because now when I see him, I seek him out. If he's in the area, I was like, I'm gonna go check him out. Mm-hmm. So he was, we had a conversation in 2010, and I told him that I had never performed in New York before. And he was like, what? And I was like, no, never. I was like, I've only been up in New York to get drugs and bring them back to Virginia. We kind of had a laugh about that. He was like, well, I tell you what, next time I go to New York, you're gonna gig with me. Mm-hmm. And he kept his word. Like, I got a call from the road manager maybe 2 months before that. And he was like, you ready? I was like, for what? He was like, we're doing New York in July. And yeah, I did Caroline's, which was a mainstay, like one of the most iconic comedy clubs ever.
Really?
Caroline's on Broadway. It's right on Broadway in New York.
Okay.
Yes. And
I bet that was nice.
Oh man, it was an out of body experience.
Really?
And I had such a great outing, Man, this is like the first year. I think Yankee Stadium was brand new, the new one.
Yeah,
and I think Steinbrenner had just passed away that week. So, I had some Yankees at the show, and they was like, man, look, we know DL, but they was like, man, we ain't never seen you before. And they took a liking to me, and they was like, look, I'm a Yankee fan. He was like, man, we want to invite you to the game. I was like, no, don't play with me like that.
Get out of here.
Bruh, when I tell you, I got on a train and went to the Bronx, which is something I'd never done in my life.
That train ride's out there.
Man, look, that was only my second time ever being on a train. And the first time was getting to Caroline's. I had never been on the train before. So I'm with all these people on the train and people's ass in my face, because I don't do small spaces, man. I'm claustrophobic, so. But I get off that train, when I tell you I'm up in the box.
At the new stadium.
I'm in the box because it's Sabathia's birthday. I'm in the box with his kids and his wife and mom and shit, man.
That's crazy, man.
Watching the game at Yankee Stadium.
That's a blessing.
They invited me.
Was DL there too?
No, he didn't go. He don't go to places like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's my experience. And, I would say the rest is history, but I didn't start working with him consistently till maybe 2 years later. But that was the beginning of it. And I was doing little dates with him every once in a while because he had openers at that time. Mm-hmm. But his openers started getting a position. One of his openers went to open for Said. And, he's still, he's writing on Cedric's show now, The Neighborhood. He's like the senior writer. So these doors open up for me to go in and rock with DL.
Do you do any writing for other people too?
Yeah, I've wrote some stuff for DL. I've wrote some stuff for a couple of comedians, man. Okay. Those checks are a lot better than performing. How the singers and rappers call it, mailbox money.
The publishing, the content creation. You
Yeah.
don't even need to be on stage.
I've heard my jokes on Netflix specials that I didn't write for the comedian, but we won't get all into that.
I
But
heard that's a big thing in the comedian
yeah, they be
industry.
stealing, man. But when I first started doing this, I thought primarily my job was to be funny, so I stole shit too. I wouldn't say I stole it, but I made my own version of it. But that's why I don't watch comedy shows now, because I don't want nobody else's thought process to be in my head, So now when I hear something, your job as a comedian, man, when you hear somebody do something funny, you're supposed to give him, like if you have an idea, you're supposed to say, hey man, that bit you did about such and such, you need to put this in it. That's how you help other guys, and that's how we keep all that thievery shit out of the game.
I know you had to at least watch the Cat Williams special.
Cat ain't never really been one of my favorites. I mean, I respect him. I've seen a couple of his specials over the years.
I'm talking about the Shay Shay thing.
Oh, you talking about the interview?
The interview.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I had to know your opinion, bro.
I only watched bits and pieces of it because I heard so much. But I didn't, as far as watching the whole interview,
Why not?
maybe I'm built different, man, but I don't think two men should be sitting by a fireplace drinking champagne and spilling tea. It just doesn't strike me as being something I want to indulge in, man.
It took me a minute to get you here, by the way. I want to say thank you on camera.
Oh, man, no problem. Yeah, I don't do a lot of stuff like this because I feel like
Why not, bro? What?
I got a
what
lot
you
of shit to
wanna
talk
know?
about, but I kind of felt like I'm wanting to get to that apex where I'm in, when I'm in demand to do stuff like this. So,
Interviews.
yeah. But I've never had an in-depth interview like this. This is a first.
Wow.
I've had little, so you're in town this week, you can tell us what you're doing. I've had that a million times, but as far as a backstory and all that, no, you're the first, man.
We want to know, bro. When I
Yeah.
saw you on stage, dude, I'm like, I want to know this dude. When you say you were from Portsmouth,
Norfolk.
I'm saying, well, when on the stage, I thought you said I'm a Portsmouth. Then I thought you said that. Maybe you
I'm
said
right
Norfolk.
I'm right across the tube from there.
Norfolk. I'm a
Yeah.
Norfolk guy.
Yeah.
When I heard you say that, I didn't know comedians did stay. I didn't even.
Man, there's a few comedians from here, man. Wanda Sykes is from here.
Darn.
Jay Farrow.
What?
Yeah, Jay Farrow started on my show, man.
Get. Oh my lord.
Jay Farrow started on my show that I used to host.
At the Funny Bone.
Yep, from 2005 to 2012.
Wow, Bo.
I hosted a show for 7 years there, which was one of the longest urban comedy shows in I was about to say the state, in the country.
Wow, 7 years. Huh?
When Guy Torrey used to do Fat Tuesdays in LA. He did a documentary recently on Prime, and he included me in on that.
That's cool,
because
man.
it's only Guy Torrey. I think D-Ray had one in Chicago for 7-9 years, something like that, and it's me. It's only a few of us.
That's really
Because black comedy shows are grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah.
So 7 years was a lifetime, man. That's why I won't do nothing else locally now, because it's a lot, man. I'm
much
saying
work?
far as doing something weekly.
Oh yeah. Bo, I want to talk to you about the comedian's life later in life. I'm a real estate guy. We teach flipping houses, and we got rental portfolios, and we do flip, all that stuff.
Right.
Do comedians, what do y'all set? Do you have a financial advisor? I mean, because you get money in, how do y'all?
When you get to that point, I guess, but I haven't reached that level yet.
Well, I mean, you still have to be thinking about it though, Bo. You're 50, or not you, but comedian in general.
Nah, I mean, I just financially, trust me, it's better and better every year, and I'm comfortable, but I'm not at a place where I need financial advice. Like it's.
Well, what do comedians do? I mean, that you can only be. Okay.
I can only speak for myself. I can't.
All right.
I can't tell because everybody's on different.
Let's talk
Man,
about-
the pay for comedians has never been delegated, and I think because every headliner makes different money.
Really? It's not like a set.
It's not a set. No, everybody has a different price.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you look at certain people will come in for $5,000 a weekend, and then the next weekend you got Mike Epps and he wants 50 grand a weekend, and he'll get that. It depends on who you are, the draw, the money, how many tickets they can sell. They take all that into account. So that's why, you see people like Mike Epps and, a lot of them are doing theaters now because the comedy clubs don't want to give them that money. The comedy clubs are booking internet guys.
Well, it's only so many seats in the club
Yeah.
to even be able to sell.
But this seat will cost you $60 when Mike Epps come in, and when the internet guy comes in, it'll be 20. But the internet guy doesn't want that 50 grand. He might walk out with 15 and be happy. But he doesn't have to do as much work. He can go up there and just be friendly with the people that support him, his followers. They don't have the bar set low.
Why haven't you focused on that, Bo? I'm dying to know.
What, as far as getting like internet, I'm totally against it, man.
I mean, I don't want to.
Don't get me wrong, there's a few guys that have benefited from it, comedians that have benefited from the internet. Like Tony Baker, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he does a lot of videos with like animals fighting and stuff, and he voices.
Okay.
And it's funny, very funny. But Tony Baker was a comedian before he did that. But that brought him a lot of attention and put him in position.
Attention is important.
Godfrey, one of the greatest, most underrated comedians ever.
He's on line.
I mean, if you talk about comedians and comparing them to rappers, I would say Godfrey is like Redman. May not be the biggest comedian, biggest rapper, biggest comedian, but Redman is great. And
I love Redman.
The biggest rappers love Redman. And he's regarded. That's Godfrey.
Consistent.
Yeah. So Godfrey used his internet sketches and stuff like that to position him.
Why are you so against it, Bo?
I'm not against it. It's just not.
You just said you
I'm
did.
in a different mind frame because I can't sit around just thinking of dumb shit to do on the internet all day. It's
Well,
just
let
not.
Can I? Yeah,
But I do internet stuff. Like, I mean, I can call it internet stuff, but if there's something that I see that I think I can make funny and I want to do it, I'll do it.
But it's not like this is your muscle.
I'm a stand-up comic, dog.
I'm not asking you to come out of that. I'm just saying when I saw you, I would love to just hang out with. I would love to go. Or do you think you have a following that would love to hang out with you online? Like, boom, let me just check Bo. I see what or they got to come.
A
see
lot
you.
of my followers, man, they send me stuff all the time. It's like, man, say something about this,
I know they love you.
It's just like, if I'm not feeling it, man, I'm not doing it.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
if it makes X amount of dollars, you're like, man, let me do that. Because let me finish. Bo, I have to, I coach people in real estate. I have to beg them to get on social media. We have raised millions of dollars.
bet.
We raised millions of dollars to buy real estate. We bought houses from just people watching me on YouTube, Bo.
Wow.
And I'm just asking you, right? If it would be lucrative for your business, is that something that you would entertain, or you like, you know what, I'm good?
If it would bring more attention, and like you said, I am 50, man. That means I'm setting my ways.
I don't like it either, Bo. You think I don't even want to do this.
You have to do stuff, and trust me, I've done a lot of things that I hated that I had to do to get me to where I'm at. I had to drive 16 hours to go somewhere and make $200.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've done all that, man. So now,
That's
I'm
harder than doing YouTube. I mean,
but it was necessary at the time because I was making $5 an hour. So, me driving 15 hours to go make $200 and do something that I absolutely love to do, it was imperative I did it. Now, if I don't feel like I want to do it, I'm not doing it.
got it.
Because I'm in a position where I don't have to do it.
Got it.
And if I went, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. I love what I do, and I feel like it should be a lot more eyes and ears on what I do because I have a lot to offer. But if I was to wake up tomorrow and do some, let's just say I put on a wig and I do this skit and it gets 30 million followers and I become this star and now everybody sees how great a comedian I am. I would hate myself
Sacrifice.
that I did that.
Yeah.
And the people around me, the people that came up with me, the dudes that know me.
Integrity.
My integrity means the world to me. And they would say, man, dog, you really did that?
You had to do that.
And I would have to live with that. So the money is coming, man.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily
Yeah, the
talking
money
about
is
all
coming.
money, just the attention and the
Right.
The attention is influence. That's all.
I sleep well at night because of the things that I haven't done.
Soft pillow. Your vocabulary is extensive, Bo. What do you attribute that to? Because even with the way you say a word, you might use a big word, in a funny way, but it is timed perfectly.
I don't attribute it to a ninth grade education. I attribute it to me being around so many intelligent people. Being on the road with DL for 12 years. Any place that we go, he is probably the most intelligent person in that room.
I know he's sharp. I know he's sharp, dude.
And he's a self-taught man. He don't have all these degrees and all that. My grandmother never made it past the 6th grade. She had to drop out of school and take care of her family, on a farm in North Carolina. And she was still one of the most intelligent people I've ever been around. School is important, but common sense is a lot more important. And being self-taught, I never wanted, because I was self-conscious about dropping out in the 9th grade and, being around all these intelligent people using these words that I had to look up, and I felt the way about that. And over the years, I found a way to get a better understanding and, look up things and figure out how to use words, how they're supposed to be used, and incorporate that into my act. So maybe I come off as, it's years of living, man. The more you live, the more you learn.
But I know a lot of elders, you can be the elder or you could just be old.
Yeah, but
You have
I'm
a skill.
self-conscious about the product I put out on stage, and my family wasn't very well educated at all. Maybe high school. I've only seen a couple diplomas, man. So I don't ever want to come off as not being, even though I went back and got a GED because I felt like, I went back and got a GED in '98 because I felt like I didn't want to be looked upon as this dumb comic, somebody that wanted just to be a clown. It's much more than that. And, where I'm at on the stage now, opposed to where I was at 19, 20 years old, my vernacular and the things, the material that I speak about, way different. At 19, 20 years old, all I talked about was, sex and
Women,
taking a
drugs,
shit
and
and stuff like that, because I hadn't done anything else. But now I've lived, fast forward 30 years, the things that I've done, the things that are important to talk about and talk about them intelligently and humorous, people appreciate that.
Well, Bo, when I hear you, I think I want to extract your extreme talent when you talk about the Golden Corral, my favorite nastiest restaurant, Bo. You said a line that I've used it several times.
All right.
You have to use hand sanitizer when you leave out the motherfucker.
Yeah, man, I ain't said that in a long time too.
Bo, it is so true. How do your ability to recognize, I don't want to minimize that. That's why I admire you. Your ability to recognize these things.
I'm laughing because I haven't said that in so long, but that is a funny line.
Oh,
Go ahead.
it's so funny. Bo, I love Golden Corral. I know it's nasty. Do you know you have to wear a glove now?
I don't go
to get your food.
I don't even do buffets, man.
That's my one little thing.
I'll do buffets when I go to when we do casinos and shit, man, because those buffets be off the hook.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. $100 pop.
No, it's included. So yeah, I kill them buffets, but.
How do you recognize this stuff, Bo? How do you? You have to be somewhere, or is it just a natural talent? I'm admired by it.
My life
go on
is,
and on about it. I have the Walmart thing with.
I tie Walmart and Golden Corral together, and that was I think that was one of my first jokes that was like well revered. Because
See,
everybody knows.
That's words you use. Go ahead.
Yeah, everybody identifies with Walmart and Golden Corral and how trashy they can be. And I was entrenched in Walmart and Golden Corral for a lot of my life, so I can speak about it, in that aspect.
But you have
my life has been so tragic and so hard, man, that I have to look at everything. Black folks laugh at our tragedies, man. We just do. When we're in bad circumstances, man, we find a way to make that shit funny. And that's why, I got the edge when it comes to going on stage and speaking about tragedies and making people laugh about it.
Wow.
Because that's what we do. We take shit and make it funny.
Wow, that's deep.
I've been doing it my whole life, and that's why it's not difficult for me to do. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about now, I'm at a point in my life where it's past jokes. That Golden Corral and Walmart, that was a joke, even though it was truth to it. Now my subjects are just, man, it's life, it's truth and honesty. It's either it's gonna make you kill over laughing because you know people that I'm talking about, or it's gonna make you feel self-conscious because that shit is about you. That's where I'm at, and that's what comedians do. We make people reflect. Once you become a stand-up comic, you're gonna piss some people off, man. And it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. Maybe I am sometimes, because there's things that I despise and I talk about them in length and make them funny. But I'm trying to change some people in the process.
You're driving a point through.
Man, come on now. If you ain't doing that, you ain't doing it right. Yeah, it ain't all just funny, happy-go-lucky shit. Everybody's gonna feel great and skip out of this motherfucker when I get off stage. No, it's gonna be some reflection done. Now, I ain't gonna push the envelope to the point like I am. I've seen comedians make people fight, Corey Holcomb and motherfuckers like that, because they irritate some souls. I'm gonna push the envelope, but I ain't gonna go that far. I'm not gonna make enemies and make people fight in the process, because that's past stand-up comedy now. We're going.
So do you attribute your edginess when I hear you? It's punchy. It's right on the line, Bo. Do you attribute your upbringing to when I hear you talk? When I hear you talk, Bo, it's almost like it takes me to the edge of I've got an attitude, I've got a chip on my shoulder, and I feel the edginess on your delivery. Is that from your?
100%. And I went through a period maybe 10 years ago when all this internet stuff started, and I just started to see a lot of people zoom past me.
What do you mean?
Just people that will come into this and be successful.
Oh, you're talking about?
Yeah, and it kind of like skipping the process. But since then, a lot of those people they're no longer with us as far as, as far as entertainment's concerned. But I went through a process of being, man, I was bitter as hell. Good Lord.
Bitter is the word I'm looking for.
I went up, and there was some years that I felt that way.
I still sense that in your delivery, though.
Well, that's more edge now than it is bitterness.
Got it. Okay.
Because
you smoothed it out.
I'm in a great spot, man.
Let's talk about the 10 years, though. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just I think it. Going back to you saying the chip on the shoulder thing, I got a chip, and it's a ton, because I know when I step out on that stage, man, I am greater than many of my counterparts. I know that.
I would agree with that.
They know that.
They think the same thing?
Man, come on now.
Get out of here, Bo.
It ain't too many dudes that can sit at the table with me, man, when it comes to that. Like you know what, I'm a very humble man, but I ain't gonna be humble about that, because I got 30 years in this shit. I'm a bad motherfucker, man, when it comes to that microphone. And trust me, my I wouldn't say adversaries, but my counterparts know that. My colleagues know that. But there is a degree of gatekeeping in this business, man.
Talk about it.
It's just, I don't know if I would go so far to agree as they only allow one at a time, because I've heard that. I
One
don't.
black comment?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
What?
It's like we got Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle. The rest of you niggas fall back.
Oh, wow.
I don't agree with that. I just feel like it's levels, and when it's your time, man, you'll get propelled to where you're supposed to be at. And furthermore, all of us can't be stars, man. All of us, if it was that easy, we would all be famous. All of us can't be stars. Some of us have not been chosen to be that. Some of us make a great living and change a couple of lives, and we're talked about greatly when we're gone from this. Some of us get that luxury.
Well, maybe that is a certain.
That's success
to me.
Yes, it's success is how it's all about your perception. Because I am highly successful, man. Like when I look back to what I've come from to what I am right now, I am fucking successful.
I would agree.
But my perception of success was a little bit different for those 10 years. I felt like
Tell me about
when
it.
I go to my bank account, I shouldn't be struggling to pay bills, man. Like it's, or I shouldn't have any kind of debt. I should be able to go buy, whatever I want to buy. And I went through a time period when I couldn't do that. I was struggling financially. And, it was bitter. A lot of bitterness came with that.
That's where it came.
Yeah. So it was, I'm looking at all these other people that don't have the skill set that I have, and they out there balling out of control. So yeah, I was a little upset about that. But
Isn't that how the entertainment business works though, Bo?
Yeah, but I just look at it, it's like, I'm mightily skilled, man. Like I'm dope with that microphone. And not just that, I'm dope all around. Like I look at it like, man, look, my cologne is better than these niggas. My clothes is better. My smile is better. I look better than these niggas. Like I mean, look, man, I'm supposed to be one of them. I'm supposed to be, I ain't gonna say I should be looking down on them, but I'm supposed to be at the table. That's the way I felt for those 10 years, that I was harboring all these bad feelings.
I heard some of that on your IG too.
Yeah, I felt that way for a long time, but now, having a better understanding of how this game works, and you can never receive more until you're grateful for what you have, man. So when I took those steps back, I was like, when I look
more, you're not even happy what God gave you right now.
When I look back to what I come from, that chaos to what I am now, I'm just like, man, I got it all.
You got it all.
So whatever I get now is just a little extra.
Well, that's so, wow. Does that go back to perspective?
It goes back to perspective, and it goes back to humbling myself and knowing that this ain't owed to me, man. I come from a poor, very poor background. I remember taking that orange drop cord to my neighbor house several times just so we can at least keep our refrigerator on.
Would you have both parents?
No. My pops left when I was 7. So it was just my mother. And, she got caught up in the drug game and all that. And then I didn't have her anymore. So then I had my grandmother. And my grandmother was too old because my grandmother used to beat my ass when I was young, man. But grandmothers get old. Now she can't chase me around. Yeah. So now I'm just out there with no supervision, 15, 16 years old, looking like a man and taking care of myself like a man, So, yeah, looking at that background and looking where I'm at now, I'm grateful. I'm in a great spot. Man, I am happier than I've ever been.
I'm glad. I didn't hear as much edginess when I saw you the other day. I mean, you still have the edge.
I'm always have that edge, man.
I'm saying like you, the 10-year ago thing. I guess you've rounded it off some.
Yeah.
As the bitterness.
Yeah, because people pick up on that, man.
I did. First time I saw you, it was like right in my face.
People pick up on that. And I would get offended when people would bring attention to it. It was like, motherfucker, you did it, not me, It was like, I heard you say it. So yeah, you can't do something and then get upset when people point out that you did it. You can't be embarrassed about
The
a
decision you
lifestyle or
made.
decision you make when you the one that did it. So yeah, when people be like, man,
Like I look at
people would
myself.
jokingly say it like, man, Bo is just mad as shit. You know, I had a lot of people, and I was like, huh? You think so? They'd be like, yeah, nigga, you mad. And it was like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. The shit you say, you are running people away.
Oh,
and
wow.
people are trying to love on you, man.
Really?
And
had
you ain't
people-
giving them a chance. Yeah, I've heard that a
Holy
lot.
cow.
I've heard that.
That was where I was going, Bo. Have you ever pissed off a crowd or tell me?
It goes back to what I'm saying, what I said a few minutes ago about the stuff that I said being truth and honesty.
Watch your mic. Don't
Oh,
your mic, yeah.
yeah, the stuff that I said being truth and honesty. Some people get mad at that.
But you're saying being bitter. I can hear it in your delivery. I mean, the edginess. When did you know it was time to say, you know, I need to look at myself in the mirror?
After
Every
hearing that a lot, yeah, after hearing that you're evil, you're mad, you're mad at the world, you're bitter. After hearing that over and over and over again,
Golly.
it's like, wow, man, I didn't realize that. You know, I just felt like I'm owed more and I'm mad that I don't have it. But in the process of feeling that way, I probably chased a lot of people off that probably could have helped me.
Do you think that might have had an impact on your career?
Yeah, of course. But what's for me is for me. I'm going to get it either way. Because if it was meant for me, I'm going to have it. But I probably could have been a lot further along. But maybe that path of having been further along at that point, maybe that would have crumbled at some point.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's all for a purpose and a reason.
No scripts. I done went over my whole thing here, Bo. I would just like to know, what do you want people to know about Bo, last name Dacious?
Man, I think I summed it all up in this entire interview.
This been good stuff, dude. You have dropped some nuggets.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed about nothing, man, because anything that I've done or my background or what I've gone through, it brought me to right where I'm at right this minute. So sometimes you have to go through things. Sometimes your cross is heavier than other people's, man. And I've carried a heavy cross for a long time, but it's only made me greater at what I do.
You mentioned you battle with did you say drinking?
Well, I don't ever want to say that it was alcoholism because, I wasn't I didn't really like stay home and drink. It was more or less going out on the road, people handing you drinks. And, when you're a stand-up comic or entertainer, period, people hand you drinks, they hand you drugs.
We've gone to the parties where the plate is just full of powder, Bo. I'm sure you've been there.
I've had people who's like, just go in their jacket when they're talking to me. You're like, hey, you want? I'm like, no, nigga. No, I don't want to. Yeah, like motherfucker, you ain't handing me fruit juice or a snack. That's an illicit drug. But
Something.
I ain't never been into drugs. I've never, I
glad.
smoked a lot of weed, a lot. And, I stopped smoking that during COVID because, it's like I just felt like I needed to go on this journey of being completely sober because I have been inebriated my whole fucking life.
Wow.
From 15 to 40.
Good Lord.
No. From 15 to 45. I was those years. I think I may have took a 3-year break from alcohol from 29 to 2012. But when I came back, 2012, I went hard as hell. Like I can hold a lot of alcohol. It was never alcoholism, but I can drink a lot. And, weekends, man, I drink a lot. And as you get older, them hangovers, man, they kick your ass.
Isn't it crazy? It's harder to come back the older you get.
I started calling them hang around because they didn't go no goddamn where. Like I gotta spend 3-4 hours getting myself right every day. It's just taking time out of my life. I was like,
older you get.
Yeah, I made a decision. I need to stop this shit. And I stopped. And a lot of people praised me for that. And it was like, man, I don't see how you did. People put so much emphasis on how hard it was. And for me, it was just a decision.
That's because you had a why.
Yep.
You had a why.
And that's why I don't get mad at people when, when they can't stop doing certain things, you know, especially like if it's a habit, because everybody don't have the same willpower I got,
Yeah, they
man.
don't.
And I don't. My thing is, if I feel like something has a hold on me, it's got to go, because I'm too stubborn for that. Like ain't shit gonna have a hold on me.
What about the discipline, Bo? Tell me about being a comedian and what amount of discipline does it take to show up on that stage and light the room up? Because you're almost like I look at you like a generator, because you're going in, you have to take the whole vibration of the room to another level.
Yeah.
With what? You ain't got no music, no drummer, no bass player,
Just
no
me.
backup singers. How?
It's just me. Because I was chosen to do this, and it's my life's work. And you're only as good as your last show. All those things are in my head before I go out on stage.
You think about that?
I do.
Okay.
Because I've had my best and my worst show ever back to back.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's been many years, but I came off a high of being out on the road, and I just had man, it was great. It's like that's the best show I've ever had. And I come back home and I do a show on the base somewhere, and I can't remember, it's been that long ago, and it was horrible. I don't think I got one laugh, and I was like, I just did this shit last night.
The same.
Yeah. I was like, I did these jokes last night, and they was killing over. So that right there proved to me that you're only as good as your last show. And right now, I stink. That's the way I looked at it. So that's why that feeling never left me. Because it's just, you don't, and that's why it's not like I wouldn't say I'm nervous before a show, but I'm on edge because of that. Because you just don't know what's going to happen. It could.